Good morning, everyone. This is Gary Kay, and you're watching my Daily Rants and Raves. Daily Rants and Raves are part of the Rave Radio Podcast Network, which is sponsored by Ingram Micro. You all know Ingram Micro is that giant AV distributor of everything. And as we're moving closer to InfoComm, we are now literally a week away from the start of InfoComm. We've been having guests all month launching and talking about new products and technology they're going to have at the show. And I'm joined by a special guest, Sander Phipps. Sander Phipps, technically your title is Senior Product Manager of Professional Display Systems, which is a lot, but you're the product manager for display, but you have a whole bunch of new projectors coming out at InfoComm this year.
Yes, we do. We actually have six new models to be specific. And to talk a little bit about today about our VPL FHZ65, which is our new Z-Phosphor technology, alternative light source technology, if you will, WUXGA projector.
Yeah, and you have to be excited about InfoComm because now you're going to have the largest product line of phosphor or laser-based projectors in the industry, and you guys were the pioneer of it. I mean, you were the first company to launch one into the market, and you're going to actually go to the show with some new technology there.
Yes, probably the most exciting thing is this is actually our fourth generation of the Z-Phosphor technology. So what we've done is incorporated a lot of the feedback from the industry of like the technology, would be really cool if it did this, or like the technology, but can you do that? So the new projectors feature much better contrast ratio, much better picture quality, longer life, nicer user features. We've also changed the chassis, so aesthetically it's a little bit more pleasing to the user, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, if it's better than what it was, it's going to be really good because I think universally you guys have not only the largest market share for laser phosphor products, which, by the way, I mean, you corrected me on this before we started. Your branding of this is Z-Phosphor, but it's the laser phosphor combination technology, right?
Right. It's our version of a blue laser technology coupled with phosphor technology, yes.
Yeah, and you guys were the first ones to launch it. You now have the largest product line, and I believe, if I recall, on our podcast that we did last week, I think your market share was over 50% in the laser market.
Yeah, that's correct. Because we have a number of products now in kind of the sweet spot of the market, yes, that's very true.
So this new product, the new series, I mean, obviously, you have one to demonstrate today. You're going to have a 4K model, and you're also going to have a WUXGA model, a 1920 by 1200 model that are both going to launch at InfoComm next week.
Correct. We're going to launch a 4K SXRD-based laser phosphor model, as well as this WUXGA model that I'm talking about today. One of the nice things about this new WUXGA model is we've incorporated a lot of the signal processing technology that we have developed for our home theater projectors.
Okay.
So things like reality creation, which gives us more realistic image, less noise, crisper, sharper images, and an enhanced contrast improvement technology that we use with laser phosphor technology that increases the dynamic contrast of the image. So better details in blacks, less washed out blacks, and overall better picture quality.
Well, you and I have been in the industry a long time, and we remember the days where you had to spend hours setting up a projector to align red, green, and blue phosphor tubes, and the image quality, but it was worth the time. Even though the projectors weren't that bright, the image quality was nothing like we have seen in years. I mean, we really haven't reached that level of image quality that we had back in the CRT days. With phosphor, with Z-Phosphor, are you there? I mean, are we getting the same image quality, or are we even, what do you think?
Thanks for reminding me how old I am, by the way. As well, yes. In a lot of ways we are. One of the beauties of CRT phosphor was the fact that you had a very wide color gamut. You had a wide palette to make your colors with. And this laser phosphor technology gives us a much wider color gamut than typical lamp technologies. With lamps sacrifice color spectral output just to get brightness, to get a lot of light on the screen. So we're finally actually getting back to the ability to make that wide color, but yet not sacrificing the brightness.
Yeah, and it's been very impressive. So you're going to demonstrate a projector. You're going to show us one of the ones that you're going to debut next week. Can we take a look at it and you tell us about that particular model?
Sure. As I kind of, I guess, pan and tilt here, so to speak, this is the VPL FHZ65, 6,000 lumens. WUXGA has talked about 20,000 hours of zero maintenance operation. I say that because the laser phosphor technology obviously lasts that long. This also has a mechanical cleaning filter system in it, so that the whole idea behind this is hang the projector. It gives you the peace of mind of flawless operation. Hang it and forget about it, essentially, is the idea behind it. One thing you may notice about it, I'm kind of going to zoom around a little bit, is the projector is very sleek. It doesn't have a lot of vent holes. The connectors are covered under a baffle, if you will, underneath the unit. So when you install the projector, it's very clean, very simple looking. The cables actually can run down the mounting point and then, or channeled or troughed, if you will, through the bottom of the chassis to the connector port. It has it built-in HD base T, has built-in DVI, built-in HDMI. There's also DVI monitor out, or digital monitor out, for the digital inputs, and an analog output monitor out for the analog inputs.
And it also looks smaller than previous. I mean, it's hard to tell because I'm looking at it through video, but it seems smaller than the previous generation. Well,
the design engineers would be very happy that you said that, because one of the criteria they were going for is a sleek, non-obtrusive, small-looking design. It is actually slightly bigger than our 4,000 lumen and a little bit smaller than our 7,000 lumen in reality. But for a projector that's 6,000 lumens, it actually is pretty small. One of the other nice features about the Z-Phosphor is it doesn't produce a lot of heat. So 6,000 lumen projector with a fan noise rating in the low 30s is very, very quiet. Again, the idea is projector's there, you don't see it, you don't hear it, you don't think about it.
And does this model come with a lens, or is all the lenses optional? And if so, what are the different options?
It comes with a lens. The lens is a 1.3 to 2.4 to 1 throw ratio. There are two optional short throw lenses, a 0.7 and a 0.9, and then two longer throws, a 2.4 to 1 and a 3.2 to 1. It also has powered lens shift, powered zoom and focus, obviously, as well as built-in edge blending and geometric correction. So it has essentially keystone correction, if you will, but I can also edge blend. The software is built in.
So are you aiming this primarily at large meeting rooms and auditorium applications? Or are you also aiming it for rental and staging, or are there particular categories of the vertical markets that you're aiming this product at?
Obviously, the large conference room, large meeting room, lecture hall is probably the sweet spot we're going after. Mm-hmm. But with laser phosphor and the fact that it's zero maintenance, it's very steady over its life, applications like museums and public viewing areas where people want to make a bright image, whether for entertainment or image or attention grabbing or what have you, that's the reason we put things in like edge blending and geometric correction. The lenses are bayonet operation, and that was a feedback actually that we got from the rental and staging guys, that it would be nice to have bayonet lens mounts, just quick on, quick off.
Yeah, so I mean, Sony's going to show this. Sony's going to show this in booth 2200 at InfoComm, and but this will not be the only new product. We've written stories, a couple of stories about launches, and I think you're launching 6 new products, two laser phosphor products, and then 4 other projectors. Correct?
Correct. We're launching additions up and down our lineup. On the low end, if you will, our entry level projectors will have in the 4,000 lumen range that will have HD base T connectivity, so for economical installations. Then moving up, we have 5,000 lumen lamp-based projectors, and then going all the way through the Z65 that I talked about here, as well as we're going to launch something called the VPL GTZ 280 and 270, which are 4K SXRD-based laser phosphor projectors at 5,000 lumens.
Are those aimed at home, or what are they aimed at?
No, there's two particular models. One is aimed at the 270 is actually aimed at what we call visual entertainment, like museums, planetariums, things like that. At 5,000 lumens and 20,000 to 1 native contrast ratio, it really can make an eye-popping image. And they have built-in blending and warping as well. And then the 280 is actually aimed at the simulation industry, so things like night vision capability, low transport delay, and things like that.
So I want you to move your camera back to you, because although I like looking at this projector, I want to talk to you real quick. So one of the nice things about laser, there's a couple of things that I think for those that haven't paid attention to laser in years because they've been stuck on the DLP or the LCD market, and they haven't really noticed some of the changes. Number one is it's come a significantly long way in the last couple of years technologically. That's something to consider. And the second thing is a laser projector, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you can pretty much mount it any way you want. There aren't any restrictions for how these things get mounted. Correct.
There's a lot of advantages to it. To your point, obviously, the mounting angles, unlike lamps, which don't like to be oriented in certain directions, the laser phosphor module doesn't care, up, down, sideways, any possible mounting angle you could ever think of. A couple of the other benefits of laser phosphor is the light output, both brightness and color-wise, is much more stable over its life. So especially in applications where you have two projectors in the same room, whether they're blended or just side-by-side images, with lamp-based projectors, you pretty much have to tweak them fairly often because they're going to not track together. The laser phosphor, it's much like old CRT monitors. Once you set them up and match them, they'll track very well over their age, remarkably well, actually. Another nice thing is laser phosphors produce less heat. So heat is obviously the enemy to electronics, so less heat means just a more happy platform altogether.
Yeah, and so better colorimetry and better uniformity. It's really two areas of that you have on laser, is that over time they track, so colorimetry stays the same, but also uniformity. You don't end up with weird hot spots, and you don't end up with areas of the screen that are brighter than the other area of the screen. Technologically, I know that. I do have a question about that. So let's say you're installing a wall, a video wall type of application with these, and maybe you're putting 6 in a wall. Do you still connect them together so that they communicate and they're tracking together, or is that done automatically inherently in the technology?
You would still somehow, whether it's from projector to projector or maybe it's a third-party software type operation, you probably still would want to hook them together so they'll track together. Since it's electronics, any electronics is going to drift. The drift is nowhere near like a lamp, but you probably still would want to do that, to be honest.
Right. Okay. And then last question. So these models you have the UXGA model, which is 1920 by WXGA model, 1920 by 1200, which means it's doing 1920 by 1080 or HD natively. And then you have a 4K model, and your 4K model is capable of doing what? Is it a 30 hertz, 60 hertz, 442, 444? What is the?
Let me start off by saying it's 4096 by 2160, so not UHD. It is capable. It has a variety of inputs and will have an option slot, but among other things, it will have dual display port, so I can do 4096, 2160 at 60p at 60 hertz at 444 color bit depth.
Okay.
So for extreme pure picture quality, this projector will be unrivaled because it'll be unrivaled in that since I have laser phosphor technology, I have a huge color gamut, and I have full 444 color bit depth into the projector, so it should be very good.
And that's a big deal, and I think more and more people are going to start paying attention to that, because one of the problems you're going to run into, even Sony will run into, but also the customer, is that you're delivering a projector that has the capability of doing 444, but all the devices that are getting the image to the projector may not. And so therefore, making sure that you're picking signal routing and distribution stuff that gets the original signal in the same format to the projector is going to be key, because otherwise you're going to have a technical support nightmare in your hands. Yes. I think.
Yes, that is a very good point. The ability to move around 4096 at 2160 at 60p at 444 is a challenge. There's a lot of stuff coming out, but we're just kind of on the edge of the little black boxes that go in between, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think people are going to be paying more attention to that. I think there's been this buzz about 4K, but it didn't define exactly what 4K was. Now people have to look at the little details. Which version of 4K is it? Is it 30 hertz? Is it 60 hertz? What's the color bit depth? Because that does matter, because what you end up seeing on the screen, and especially in the case of a company like yours, you get blamed for it not looking good when really it's the equipment driving it from the beginning to your display sometimes that's causing the problem. So that's something and I think that's going to be a big thing that's going to be talked about next week at InfoComm. We expect to do a lot of writing about that and looking at some of these smaller companies, especially who are coming into the industry new, promoting 4K products, and whether or not they're really delivering the high resolution, high bandwidth, high color bit depth 4K products.
No, I totally agree. A lot of it depends on, I think, on the actual application, but the display capabilities are such now that it'd be a shame to limit them with the infrastructure in between. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Sander, look, it's been awesome. You and I have known, I'm going to age us both, you and I have known each other now for 24 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
And yes, and so I thought about it this morning before I started. I was like, yeah, I remember, you and I have done a lot of stuff together over the years. It's been exciting, and it's amazing to see how far this industry's come. I mean, I remember doing the PowerVision series years and years ago with Luke. I don't know if you remember those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where we would set up 3 projectors and spend all day setting them up. And real quick funny story about that, since I got you on the phone, that people might find amusing, especially those of you who remember the CRT days. Luke and I one time were setting up 3 projectors, 2 front screen, 1 rear screen projector. Took all day to set them up at the InfoComm Institute in Bloomington, and we put notes on the projectors. Please don't touch, because we knew that the cleaning crew would come in. They didn't touch the projectors. They moved the screens. So nowadays we don't have to worry about that, because if somebody moves the projector, moves the screen, all we do is line it back up and focus it. But I'm excited about this new technology. I'm a huge fan of laser. When I first saw it in your booth a couple of years ago, I was blown away. In fact, I think it was Orlando a couple of years ago, and I was super excited to see a new technology that actually focused on colorimetry, because I'm a picture snob, even though I realize there's a great benefit to these simple plug-and-play projection technologies. But I'm excited about the new products. I'm excited to see them. You're going to definitely want to go by booth 2020. You can't miss the Sony booth. Even if I didn't give the number, you would see the Sony booth. But thanks for joining me this morning, Sander. I really appreciate it, and best of luck to you at the show, and I'll see you live.
Very good. See you in InfoComm.
Thank you very much. You've been watching our Daily Rants and Raves. Keep watching, because we still have a bunch of other interviews to do before we get to the show next week. This is Gary K. Have a good day.